Welcome back to the channel. It is RacerX, and today I'm back with my good buddies at Meador Dodge. It has been a while since I came to visit these guys. Well, today I thought I might just pop in and make a fun little video really about the difference between the Hellcat and the V6. And I know what you're thinking, right? Like, how can you really even compare the two? Well, today I am going to show you, and I think it depends on who you ask whether or not it is a fair comparison. So it should be a fun one. Also, guys, if you are new to my channel, I need you to do me a gigantic favor. There's a subscribe button down there at the bottom. Make sure you hit that, hit your notification bell so that I've got more great content coming up and you will know about it. And guess what? We are off. We got the 1,000 horsepower Hellcat. Now, real quick, guys, they are starting to hit dealerships. Yes, that is a Durango Hellcat. Unfortunately, this unit is sold, so I won't be able to do the review on this bad boy today, but you will see a review coming from me very soon on these Durango Hellcats. But quite the specimen they have here at Meador Dodge in South Fort Worth. Very good looking machine there. Okay, so before I even get going, I will go ahead. I realize it, guys. You're not used to seeing me in glasses for one. Yes, I do wear glasses, and I don't have my hat on today. I had to actually go to the eye doctor because my eyes were literally swelling shut because it was so windy here and there were so many allergens in the air. I literally was concerned I was going to go blind. But anyway, I got to the eye doctor. They gave me some steroids and all sorts of good stuff to help clear up what was going on with my eyes. But for now, I got to rock the glasses, and I'm not even going to bother with the hat right now. So I might look a little different than I always do. But guess what? It's still me. So let's jump into the content. So a while back, Dodge actually introduced the Charger and the Challenger Hellcat. That was all the way back in 2015. And as we know, that was really a halo, a flagship type vehicle, over 700 horsepower from the factory, as we know. I mean, it set the automotive world ablaze, and it just kind of put Dodge back on the map in terms of just, hey, look, we're here, we're relevant. And then, of course, they have other trims out there. As we know, they've got the Scat Pack with the 392. They've got the RT with the 5.7. And then, of course, they have the Pentastar, which is the 3.6-liter naturally aspirated six-cylinder that they offer, which is actually the other car that you see back there. So a lot of the content from guys that own the upper-level trims, the Scat Packs and the Hellcats, were like, look, Dodge, why would you go out and make a six-cylinder that looked basically exactly like our Hellcats? Because really, you know, when you're going down the road, you want the Hellcat to look special, and it is special. But now when you're going down the road, you see a lot of these six-cylinder cars that actually look just like the Hellcats do. And if you really don't know how to tell the difference, it looks like there's just a bunch of Hellcats running around. Now, as we know, this, of course, is my 1,000-plus horsepower Hellcat, and to the trained eye, you can definitely see some differences here. Now, the grills actually look very similar, and of course I don't have the newer grill, the 19 and up. My car's a 2016, but you can see they basically have the same hood scoop right here. Now keep in mind, this is not an SXT, this is a GT, so essentially it looks like an RT, except it's got the six-cylinder in it. But from a grill perspective, it basically looks the same. And then when you look at this piece, you know, basically this part right here, it really does kind of look the same. Now, obviously with a Hellcat, you're going to have your heat exchangers down in this range, whereas over here on this particular car, you're going to have your headlights. But actually, it looks a lot like the 392 cars do. So, you know, to the untrained eye, when you look at these two vehicles going down the road, you see one going down the opposite side of the road, really they do look very similar. So there are a couple of subtle differences to look at when you're looking at the back of, say, a GT versus a Hellcat. Now, as we know, my Hellcat does have the X-Mod exhaust, which, you know, you've got that big carbon fiber tip sticking back there, and of course that is not stock. Now, one thing I will say is that my Hellcat does still have stock suspension, but it sits lower. I don't know if you can easily tell, but it looks like it sits a couple inches lower than the GT, and of course there's the exhaust on the GT. Now, if you're rolling down the road at night, looking at the back of these two cars, I have to admit that it would be pretty darn hard to tell the difference between the two. And of course, even the wheels, if you don't really know what you're looking at, they look pretty similar. So yeah, I definitely think that there are a lot of similarities between these two trims. So really the big question is, did Dodge make a big mistake by making their essentially their six-cylinder cars, their RT cars, really look like Hellcats? Well, it really depends on who you ask, because if you ask a lot of the guys that own Hellcats that paid $70,000 or $80,000 for their cars, chances are they're probably going to say, yeah, that pretty much sucks for us, because we want our cars to look different. We want our cars to look more special. And when you can basically have a car that costs $30,000 with a 6-cylinder that's 300 horsepower essentially, and it looks just like a car that makes 1,000 horsepower, even from the factory where it's making well over 700, in which case, a red eye obviously is almost 800. Should there be a lot more distinguishing characteristics with the Hellcat over, say, a GT? Well, the GT guys are going to love it, because, yeah, it's like, hey, man, this thing looks almost just like a Hellcat. I paid a third of what a Hellcat guy would have paid. I get the same looks. Yes, I know it's not the same performance, but there's something to be said for that. It's the waterfall effect, or the water down effect, however you want to look at it, whatever you want to call it. But, Dodge did some marketing with this, and they decided once they put that Hellcat out there, that, look, you know what, we might as well capitalize on that look and go ahead and trickle that thing down to our other trims. And it seems to work, because they sell an absolute ton of these SXT Chargers, and especially the GTs that look a lot like the, like I said, look a lot more like a Hellcat or even an RT. So what's the right answer? Just for reference, this is what an SXT looks like. You can see quite a bit different. You've got, of course, a different grille here. The hood is quite a bit different. And even the lower portion of the front of the car is actually quite a bit different compared to a GT. Same exact engine, but you can see it looks just like an RT. Now, is there something to that? Why would Dodge do that? Well, take a look at the inventory that they offer. You can see this is actually the only SXT on their entire lot. And then look here, you've got a GT, you've got another GT, you've got 4 more GTs all down through here. So yeah, there's definitely something to the fact that these cars look like a more of an upper level trim, and the GT package on these things really doesn't cost that much. So yeah, I definitely think there's something to it. Now, it is kind of an interesting question to ponder, because like I said, a lot of times you will ask guys that own Hellcats, should a Hellcat even look like a Scat Pack? Should there be a lot of defining characteristics between those two cars? Well, a lot of the Hellcat guys will say, well, heck yeah, man, I paid more money, my car should look different. And a lot of times if you ask the Scat Pack guys, should your car look different than an RT? A lot of times they're going to say, yeah, because I'm a higher trim level, my car should look different. And there are some small characteristics of these cars, if you know what you're looking at, that, yeah, you can definitely tell. Somebody like me, I can tell by looking typically at a car, and I can tell you what trim it is. Then, of course, when you talk to the RT guys, they want their car to look different than a GT. And I will tell you, telling the difference between a RT and a GT is actually pretty hard to do, with the exception of the little Hemi badge on the side. Those two cars basically really do look identical, and I think that was the spirit when they made the GTs. They just really want to make sure that they capitalize on the look of that vehicle, going all the way up to what the Hellcat looks like. So it's kind of interesting when you look at, say, Chevrolet, because they went a completely different direction with this, right? So they've got their 6-cylinder cars that look like 6-cylinder cars. They've got their 8-cylinder cars that you can definitely tell are 8-cylinder cars. And then they came out with the LT1, which is actually a car that looks like a 6-cylinder, but is actually a V8. So they went completely the other direction with it on that. And of course, their Corvettes are only in a V8 trim. And then of course, they've got higher level trims than that in the Z06 and the ZR1. So Chevy, completely the other direction. And then of course, when you talk about Ford, they kind of went with the same sort of model that Dodge did on this. And they said, look, you know what? Our EcoBoost cars are going to look almost identical to our Mustang GTs. Now, of course, when you jump up to the Shelby cars, they do look a little bit different, and they're pretty easy to tell. But in terms of telling the difference between a GT and really the other trims, the EcoBoost and the 6-cylinder Mustangs, all that kind of stuff, it's pretty hard to tell unless you look very closely at the badge. So now I know what you're thinking. Well, RacerX, what is your stance on this, being somebody that owns a Scat Pack, that owns a Hellcat? But I do have a lot of respect for the V6 trim levels, because as I've told you guys many times in the past, if FCA did not sell the 6-cylinder cars, the chances are we wouldn't have the option of even buying our RTs, probably our RTs, but in terms of buying our like SRT type cars, your Scat Packs, your Hellcats, Red Eyes, all that kind of stuff, I just don't see them being able to make those trim levels without all of the sales and that big foundation they get from the 6-cylinder trim. So I'm glad we have the 6-cylinder trim out there. Now, should there be some other defining characteristics of the Hellcat? I do kind of wish they would make the Hellcat even more unique looking maybe some more stuff done to the body. And of course, now we're getting the wide bodies, which you can only get in the Scat Pack, and of course the Hellcat. So maybe that's part of it as well, and maybe that's why they did that. But I would definitely like to see the Hellcat just look a little bit different while still keeping some of the shape and form of the GT, so you don't lose all of it and you still get your V6 buyers in to purchase those cars as well. They're all very important to the brand, so I'm kind of torn on this. Yes, I absolutely love the GTs, but at the same time, let's keep our Hellcats and Scat Packs and all that kind of stuff. Let's make each trim level unique to where even somebody who's really not got the trained eye can pretty much tell the difference. Well, guys, that is about it on this one. I just wanted to kind of spur a little bit of thought and get your opinions on it. It's something that kind of has gone back and forth with my buddies and I for a long time. Did Dodge do the right thing by essentially making a 6-cylinder car that looks just like their bad daddy Hellcat? I kind of gave you my thoughts on it, but I would love to hear your thoughts. Did Dodge do the right thing by doing that? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I want to thank my buddies here at Meador Dodge once again for letting me borrow their bay, because it's ridiculously windy, but at least my eyes aren't like bulging out of my head like they were in Arnold Schwarzenegger's Total Recall movie. But anyway, guys, it's been a fun one. I will catch you on the next one. So until then, RacerX.